Picture this. You're in the middle of a project. It's going great. It's going perfectly.
The words are flowing. The characters are doing exactly what you want them to do, and then
you're stuck. No! Don't worry. Being stuck does not have to be this dramatic. Hey there, warriors. Allison here, author and creative warrior, and I'm here to talk about even more tips that you can use to get unstuck during National Novel Writing Month or any other time. So the first tip to get you unstuck is to move the computer aside, bust out the good old pen and paper, and write by hand. But Allison, why would we write by hand if we have a computer? It's so much faster and easier. Exactly. It is so much faster, and we type so quickly that our brain cannot keep up sometimes, because sometimes our brains get a little sluggish. What was I saying? And there's actually scientifically backed information that shows writing by hand can do a lot of really positive things for our brains and help us get unstuck. I personally like writing by hand when I am in the brainstorming part of a story, but you can use it in the middle of a story to get unstuck and get your momentum back. So writing by hand actually uses more brain power than writing on your computer. Physically writing letters engages the brain's vital neural pathways, and so does saying vital neural pathways. And the engagement of those pathways has actually shown up on MRIs taken of patients while they were writing by hand. It can also help improve your memory. A study found that students that typed notes on a laptop or a computer started to lose that information as soon as 24 hours later. But those who wrote it down by hand remembered the information up to a week later. And sometimes it's just nice to get away from the glow of the screen, rest your eyes, move locations, and just do something different. So there you go. Writing by hand is one way that you can get unstuck if you're feeling stuck in the middle of a project. And how many times do you think I'm gonna say stuck during this video? Let's count. Just kidding, don't do that. And if you do, I guess put it in the comments because I'd be curious. And the next tip I have to help you get unstuck in the middle of a project is to use one of my favorite writing techniques, flash fiction. So over the last few years, I've actually written exclusively flash fiction, and I have 2 published books that you can find on Amazon, links below. But it's also a really great tool to help you write other types of writing like novels. So if you're moving along in your novel, things are going really well, and then all of a sudden you're stuck, try writing a flash fiction story in the middle of your novel. So flash fiction, for those of you that don't know, is a complete story in less than 1,000 words. So beginning, middle, end. It's not an excerpt, it's not a chapter, it's not poetry, it's a complete story. So set yourself a goal of writing a complete story, maybe a story within a story for your novel, but beginning, middle, and end right in the middle of your novel or in the action or lack thereof. Give yourself a deadline of the evening or a day to write that story. Pick a side story for one of your characters or a scene that you're eventually going to be able to use in your novel. Make it a flash fiction story, so complete, beginning, middle, and end, and you can always edit it later to work within the confines of your novel. As long as it has to do with your story, your current work in progress, you can use those words towards your word count, so you won't be losing progress, and it actually might help you move forward in your story. The next tip I have for getting unstuck in the middle of your project is to use writing sprints. So in the writing world, we call them sprints, but elsewhere out in productivity land, I don't know, they call writing in smaller timed chunks the Pomodoro technique. So the Pomodoro technique asks you to write in 25-minute chunks, take a 5-minute break, and then do it again. And then you will do this 4 times and then take a longer 15 to 20-minute break. That sounds doable, right? In fact, that's why this technique is helpful. Sitting down to write for hours at a time with no end in sight is a little overwhelming. But knowing that you're going to sit and write for 25 minutes, that's not that hard to do. I mean, sometimes it might feel really hard to do, but it's much easier and more manageable than just sitting down and saying, I'm gonna write for an unknown amount of time. So this technique helps because it allows us to look at our larger projects in smaller chunks. Smaller, less overwhelming chunks. When we're working on a novel or a big project, it might seem scary and overwhelming, so we distract ourselves from our fear or nervousness by going on the internet, going on TikTok, going on Facebook, and then we get distracted and stay on those sites for hours and realize our writing time is gone. And that's no good. So don't get scared and don't get overwhelmed. Just break your project up into smaller pieces. Set a timer, and when you set that timer, make sure to turn off all distractions for 25 minutes. Tuning out all distractions for an hour or 2 hours might seem like it's just not gonna happen. There's too many distractions in your lives. Your phone's always going off, your kids are talking to you, your dog needs attention or a walk. A 25-minute chunk with no distractions, doable. So you set the timer, tune out all distractions, turn off your notifications, and just write for 25 minutes. And then you can take a 5-minute break. You can tell your kids to go away, throw your dog a treat, answer that text, and then put the phone aside again to start your next chunk. And then after 4 of these little chunks, these little Pomodoros, you take a longer break, 15 to 25 minutes. And yes, our brains are easily distractible and it might feel really hard to do this at first, but doing this technique actually helps to train our brain to tune out distractions. The brain is a muscle, and just like every other muscle, it needs exercise. So you can think of this technique as interval training for your brain. My next tip to help you get unstuck in the middle of a project is to write a narrative from your main character's point of view. So a narrative does not need to have action, it does not need to have dialogue, it's more like an internal dialogue of your character. What is going through your character's brain right now? Take a break from the action or worrying about what scene is next and just write a rant or a narrative from your character's point of view. Let them vent for a whole page, but just write. Don't think about it too much, just start going and let the words flow. This is kind of like a free writing exercise, but it's still about your character. It's still about your story and your novel. Maybe you won't use it later and that's fine, but keep it in there for now and hopefully it will help you start to move the story forward. And my last tip to help you get unstuck in the middle of a project or in the middle of National Novel Writing Month is don't judge yourself. And this might be the hardest tip to follow yet, but if you are stuck, whether it's for the first time in this project or the 51st time in this project, it's okay. It happens. We're all going to get stuck. What matters is that you take steps to help you get unstuck. If those steps don't work and you need to try something else, that's fine, but you're making an effort. We might judge you a little bit if you're just sitting here going, I'm stuck. That's not gonna get you very far. And yes, we might judge you just a little bit. If you are stuck, we're not gonna judge you just for being stuck. And if you're taking action to get unstuck, well, there you go. Don't judge yourself. Be easy on yourself. Even the most prolific writers get stuck. So please, please, please give yourself a break, give yourself grace. Walk away from your project if you need to. I talked about that in part 1 that you can find linked in the comments. Just make an effort. No judging necessary. If you have tips that help you get unstuck when you're feeling stuck, word of the day, throw them in the comments. I would love to hear them. The writing community would love to hear them. All right, my friends, those are 5 more tips that you can use to get unstuck if you're feeling stuck in the middle of a big project or in the middle of National Novel Writing Month. So thank you so much for listening, warriors. Don't forget to give this video a little like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this, and hit that little notification bell so you can get notified when I have new content. Now go fight for your creativity. Which is the brain's vital neural pathway. Pardon me.